Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel for this episode 20 here on Monteith with me, Farmer Murphy. Well, we've moved on into March here on the farm. We made it through harvest, and as anticipated, it was a pretty relaxed harvest due to a couple factors really. One, we didn't face many rain delays. We did have a couple, but they weren't significant. They happened late in the day, so it didn't impact us as great as if it had rained first thing in the morning. So that was good. And it was primarily a soybean harvest. We didn't have a whole lot of corn to harvest, and we can harvest soybean quicker than we can the corn. So it went all very well. And we managed to get all our field prep done on our existing fields before winter as well. So a really good fall here. Can't always count on that being the case, but this time it was. But things are still pretty quiet here in March. It's very quiet through the winter months here on the farm. But we want to take advantage of that because there's something we are going to do, and I want to get it done before next month when things get really busy, when we start putting our crops in the ground, and I anticipate the contract business to kick off again. So let's jump in our buggy here and go for a little drive, and I'll tell you what we're going to be up to. Now, of course, I need to give you the update, as it were, and this is going to be pretty short and sweet. Here is your update. So since we were together last in October, I believe it was, we generated $456,000 of contract income, and we sold product off the farm for $420,000. So there's your update. I think by now, if you've been following along with the series, you know what activities we're doing here. It is primarily a corn soybean farm, and that's what we do. And so the activities are centered around that. They don't change very much season over season. So I don't think it's much point in me telling you anymore what fields we did cultivating or plowing in or that sort of thing. We'll give you the numbers where the money came from, and as you can see, farm income, as I call it, versus contract income were very close. And we still have nearly $900,000 worth of soybeans sitting in our silo ready for sale. Kind of midsummer is when their best price is. So we're going to get another good boost to income there. But I want to show you a couple fields that I am actually going to purchase with the money we earned. And I think this is going to be the last land expansion that we do before we have to do an equipment expansion, particularly on the harvest side. We are pushing our luck. We are not going to always have as nice a weather, I don't think, as we did have, because the very first year we were here, I believe it was, we had quite a bit of rain, and I don't know if you recall, we were pushed pretty hard. And our farm was, was non-existent essentially at that time. I was going to say it was not as big as it is now, and that's certainly the truth. But I'm going to jump out of cab here so you can see. So we are on kind of a, I don't know if you would use it, spillway is really not the right word. I just can't think of the word I'm looking for right now. But this grassy area that allows the water to flow from the high point up there down between our two fields here. This is our long skinny field 14 here on our right. And then on our left is field 11, one of our larger fields, more rectangular field. So that's what the purpose of this grassy area is. You can see it's kind of like a channel, a very shallow channel, but you can see that that's what it is. And it runs up here between these two fields, and there's actually a dam up here, and it holds some water back, and it actually provides a crossover point between the two fields that I actually just discovered recently. I never, all the time I'd worked up here, I hadn't really taken notice of it. But here it is coming up on our left right here. You can see there's a culvert and a little bit of a dam holding back some water here. But north of these fields, 14 and 11 here, we have two fields that are kind of oddly shaped. And I think there was a reason they were made like that, because this is the high point and all the water runs down. And so what they've done is they've kind of made these green areas, if you want to call them that. They're brown now, but in the summertime they're nice and green. And they made these to kind of capture the any soil that would normally wash away, I think is their intention. So for erosion. And then they've kind of made like a terrace. There's a little bit flatter spot, and then there's another one. Well, I understand that's their purpose, but boy, are they a pain to farm around. And in fact, neither the base game workers nor course play workers like working these fields at all. I usually just have to do them myself because they just end up in a wreck. They just can't deal with these kind of fingers, I call them. So what we're going to do is we're going to buy these two fields here. And if we take a look at the map, oh, there, we're right there. So there's field 14 and field 11, that green belt that runs between. Oh, by the way, I figured out why my cursor doesn't work. And the fix for it is to turn down my graphics settings, and I don't want to do that. So we're just going to have to live with it. So I apologize for that. Anyways, as I was saying, that green belt or that waterway runs between 11 and 14, and there's actually another kind of one on the other side of 11 between 10 and 11. But we are going to take and buy these two fields, and the cost of them is $900,000. And you can see we're sitting here at $958,000. So what I'm going to do is I am going to take out a small loan of only about $50,000 just to ensure we have enough funds to keep the farm running, to pay maintenance costs and fuel and that sort of thing, just in case contracts don't come in, because there is a running cost to the farm that goes out every month. So I'm going to borrow that little bit of money, and I'm going to pay it back when we sell the soybeans. So that's the intention. It's going to be just a short-term loan of like 6 months in duration, and we will pay it off as soon as we get our soybean income, or we get contract income that allows us to do that before then. Because the other thing I want to do is I am going to hire a cat, or I actually already have hired a company. They're going to come in with a cat, and what they're going to do is, where's that bad one? I think it's this one here. Yes, it is. See, this is unfarmable with this slope the way it is. What I'm going to do is a company is going to come in with a cat. They're going to strip the topsoil off of these areas, and they're going to rework the land and sculpt it so it's got just a steady slope to it, and then spread the topsoil back out. And I am going to join 12, 13, and 11 and 14 together and make one large field out of it. I am not concerned about the effects on the erosion, because we are not a no-till farm, but we're a low-till farm. We no-till our soybeans. We do a little tillage with our corn. But maybe what we could do up here is, if erosions look like it's be an issue, run 2 seasons of soybeans and then 1 corn, something like that, to mitigate that. I don't think we can get away with no-tilling our corn, unfortunately. But we're going to keep all these spillways or waterways intact. That's the intention. We're just going to make this area farmable and, just even out the slope overall. See, there's kind of another area here. This one isn't quite as obvious, but if you do take a look at it, there is a bit of a spillway here for the water to go down. So probably going to work on this a little bit too in this area here, and see if we can gain a little bit up here because there's a fairly nice flat area here, that's not being used. It's just kind of the crown of the hill. But in order to use it and keep the drainage the way it should be, I'm going to have to get them to rework that area a little bit. So that's what they're going to do. And so we'll let them carry on. I will buy the fields. I will borrow just a little bit of money so I can pay those guys and we can pay our bills until we get more income in. And once they're gone, which should be later in the month, I'll bring you back in and we'll carry on with our portion of the work so that we can actually get crop in these fields this spring. So we'll see you in a few days. Well, it is a few days later and we're back here up at the field. Now, all the areas that the contractor worked look like this. They've put the topsoil back, but it's got that, they didn't separate the grass or mulch it up or anything. So we need to work these areas up. But any spot that they sculpted looks like that. So before we can do anything, we need to turn that into a seed bed. And for that, I brought the big dog up here, and you will notice a new piece of equipment. And this was necessary because of Giants Update 1.14. As you may recall, I was using a Bednar cultivator, and I had a mod in that allowed it to be used as a subsoiler. Basically, you could set the depth. And so I was using that for cultivating contracts and subsoiling our own land. But after 1.14, yeah, there's no machine alive that could pull that sucker when it was set to subsoiler. I even brought in a really big tractor and it could only pull it at about 5 kilometers an hour. So, it needed some kind of update, and I didn't have time to wait. So what I did is I have leased this big John Deere plow, and so we're going to do our plowing with that, and we're going to keep this. I just leased it because I had this project on the go and I didn't want to take nearly $100,000 out to buy it, but we are going to buy that out. And then I replaced that modded cultivator. I just put in a Bednar, just a straight cultivator, a disc cultivator. You can't use the various options on. So that I did at no cost to myself. So we have a cultivator now for cultivating and a plow for just plowing. So that's the story there. So let's jump in this big guy here. Now we are going to plow out between the fields here to join them up. Of course, they didn't need to do any work there, so there's no difference in how the field looks. So let's lower this down and get to work here. Now we only need to work the areas where they had worked. Now they did tell me what the bill's going to be. Their work is going to cost me $30,000. They're going to send an invoice. Of course, we'll have 30 days to pay that. So we've got to pay that money out here next month. Something like that. That's the tricky part done. Now, of course, we're going to need to scan these areas, and we're going to have to. Oh, it looks like it's bringing up not very big rocks, but it's bringing up rocks. We're going to have to rock pick it, and then of course alignment. Oh, I guess actually we just bought these fields, so we have to scan the entire field, not just these areas. A little stinking thinking there. Now, if we have time, I'm hoping that we will have the opportunity to jump to next month, and we'll show the seeding, the starting of the seeding of this field. But I thought this would be a little bit different episode because there isn't a ton of variety, just because of the nature of the farm we have going here. You know, soybeans, plant soybeans, corn, harvest soybeans, corn, rinse and repeat. Um, I'll do these areas down here, the area I want to show you, so because I do want to leave time to show a little bit of all of the activities. There's a fairly major rework here over on this side, so we could gain a little extra arable soil. And that was on this hillside here. Basically, um, that field we're looking at, it mostly ran down here and it drained. If I jump out here, there was kind of a low spot that ran along here and it was all grassed in, and all the drainage ran down here into the creek. And what I had them do is, you can see there's a bit of a channel here now, so anything that drains off of the field beside us will go in this channel, and this channel heads down and slopes into the drainage area. So all that comes, that drains down here now, is just off of our field, and I had them put some drain tile in there so we can minimize erosion. So we're all good, but we gain a little bit of ground, which will, you know, help pay for this work we did. Now, I didn't look. There actually are tile risers here on this map. I didn't look to see if there's any decorative items. I would have been kind of, should have done that actually, just thought of it, and I could have put a tile riser or two in here. But anyways, I did try and make it so that there was still a drainage plan that made made some kind of sense. Made sense to me anyways. I'm not a farmer, but you know, water runs downhill, so I just went with that concept and took that concept and ran with it. So hopefully it's somewhat reasonable. So let's get lined up here. Now, I'm not worried about making this a perfectly straight edge, but we will just do our best. Now, there is still, you know, I don't know if you can see, there is a bit of a swale there. Hopefully our harvesters don't have any issues with it. That'll really be a bummer if they do, but I tried to kind of smooth it out in the hopes that it would be fine. And they put in that lizard, fast-growing grass you can see on the work they did over there. So it that grass seed is amazing. It grows amazingly fast. Actually, I think we can cut in here just a little bit more. And you know what? I think I'm going to make a rounded corner here. Instead of a square corner, I'd have to paint a little grass in there, but from a field work perspective, I think that'll be a little handier. All right, well, I've got a little bit more of this to do, as you can see, but with this big machine, it really won't take too long. I'll get this wrapped up, and we'll go on to the next phase of the process. So I'll meet you down here with another piece of gear in just a little bit. Well, we went from one of the biggest pieces of equipment on the farm to one of the smallest for the next job. Now we need to scan all our new field areas so we can make fertilizing lime and seed recipes. So that's what we're going to do next here. One down. Now, I had looked at these stones and I thought they were pretty small. Um, but you know what? I think we will pick them up because there are some larger ones in there. So stone picking will be the next job on the list. This is a modded scanner. It does scan twice as large an area as the base game one. Just in case you were wondering. It does charge you more money though, but it scans twice the area, but only charges you 1.5 times the amount. So, yeah, it's a little bit cheaty, but it makes this job uh, a lot less. Well, I was going to say annoying. Let's just use the word stressful, because it is quite a bit cheaper than buying the soil samples in. But in a case like this where you created a field, you don't have a choice. Hopefully I went that far enough that way. I think I did. But anyways, I am eating up time fast in this episode, and I got lots I'd like to show yet. So there's just going to be more of this driving around and getting samples. We'll send them off, and we'll take a quick look at some rock picking, I guess, is what we'll do next. We will go around and pick up a few of these rocks. So I'll get this taken care of, and I will meet you back up here with the rock picker. So see you in a few minutes. Okay, rock picking is the next chore, and we've got the 6R. That's what we usually use for that. And if we zoom in here, boy, this old girl is looking a bit battered, I must say, but she's got over 100 hours on her now. It has done a ton of work on the farm, and it was a tractor we bought very early on, and it's one that's earmarked for replacement. Just shameful to see a John Deere in that condition. Or maybe a paint job. But I think we'll just replace it. I'd like to get the next size up of 6R. All right, let's get this turned on. Now, of course, we just need to do the areas where we plowed. I didn't bring up a trailer because they are still pretty small stones. I was thinking that we could get away with just the capacity of the rock picker itself. We'll see how that works. We're not very far from the farm. I can just run and dump it in our crusher if it does fill up. Not a big deal. Still a little bit foggy in some areas here, and it's well into the afternoon. And I was hoping this fog would dissipate because for the next job I was actually planning on doing a cinematic. Actually, what we're going to do next is the liming, and that'll be the last chore we do on here this month, and then we'll be ready to seed. And I've been thinking about that, and I think what we'll do is, even though some of the fields it will be a repeat crop, I think we're going to put soybean in. So some of the fields, like I said, because there's 4 fields here, will be soybean on soybean. But to my way of thinking, that means next year we won't need to disturb the soil at all, because we'll just direct drill in on top of that the corn, and so that gives kind of time for the soils to settle, and we'll have that they'll be bound by the soybean roots over the winter. So I think that's what we're going to do. Now I don't know if that would be the done thing, as they say. If there are any real farmers watching, he's saying, "Oh, you're really screwing the pooch on that, Farmer Murphy." Well, that may be, but in my defense, I'll just say it is, after all, just a game. So I didn't do any research on that or anything. It's just kind of my thinking on it. Makes sense to me. Now, this is not a job I typically do in cab at all, but let me see. We can't get lined up and show a little bit of this well-used 6R at work here in cab. Oh yeah, and let's pick a curve too, because that ought to work out really well. Okay. We keep that kind of light on the edge of the field, we should be good. Actually looks like it's in better condition on the inside than it does on the outside. Now I did end up borrowing money, but I borrowed 80,000, 50 for the farm to make sure it doesn't run short, and 30 so we can pay the contractor. And like I said, I only took it over 1 year, and as soon as we are comfortable paying that loan back, we will do so and get out from underneath it. But one of the rules I set for myself is we can only borrow money to buy land. We can't use it to borrow equipment or for running. Did we fill up? Oh no, we're still going. It just got quieter, I thought, all of a sudden. But anyways, you know what? There's just going to be a little bit more of this around the various parts of the field, and we'll be ready to throw lime on it. And that I'm planning on doing in a cinematic. Didn't really think that through though, because part of these fields have already been limed. Darn it. Might have to rethink that, actually, because course play now is going to recognize the entire new field, and a good portion of it's already got lime on it. Yeah. So you know what? We might have to save the cinematic for the seeding, I guess. So with that, I will leave you there, so I make sure we have time to get the seeding in, and we'll be seeding the entire field, so that'll work just fine. So, all right, guys, we'll see you when we're ready to throw some lime on here. Won't be too much longer for me. Will be no time at all for you. So we'll see you in just a second. All right, well, we are ready to put the lime down. Do you notice something different? That is not the lime spreader we were using before. This was another change out of necessity. I was having some issues, and it was actually Farmer Mike who helped me out, told me to check the log, and our lime spreader was throwing some errors into the log, so I needed to replace it. So this is as close as I could get, and I think it's pretty much a soft. It's a slightly slower, slightly narrower spread, but has a larger capacity. But look at the tires it has. So that makes a winner right there. And is there a better looking outfit in the field? Uh, John Deere with big fat tires, and a John Deere implement with big fat tires? I don't think so. It doesn't get any better than that. So this is out of Mod Hub. It's pretty pricey. That's when it came out. I thought, oh, I really like that, but it was quite a price difference between what we had. But necessity said I need to make a change, so this is what I went with. So I made this change at no cost to us, and it's like I said, it's actually not quite as efficient as the old one, but it sure looks better. But anyways, I have come up with a plan to do a cinematic for you guys on this job. I wanted to show it because this is new rather than on the seating. So I'm going to give that a try. So hopefully you will see a cinematic starting almost immediately. If not, you'll hear me again. So I know which one you're probably hoping for. So sit back and enjoy the tunes. Well, hello, I hope you enjoyed that cinematic. We have now moved into April. It's time to start putting our crops in the ground, and you can see we have our seeding unit set up here. It's mid-morning. Basically, I was waiting for the fog to clear so we could record, but that hasn't hurt us any because as of yet, there are no contracts that have popped up. So, let's get this done. Now, I have selected soybean. That's what we're going to put in this field. I haven't changed my mind on that. So let's get it fired up here. Lowered it down. I'm using steering assist to do this. Now, I did use up a fair bit of time, unfortunately, so we can't show a whole lot of this, but yeah, it's not something we haven't seen before, but At least if we do a run up and across here on this field, you kind of get an idea of its size now that we've combined these fields. So this portion of the field we're on, it was corn last year, so this is soybean going on to corn. I don't recall what was on the fields to the north here. They were, other farmers' fields. I just don't recall what was on them. But the field on the other side of the runoff area for the water is going to be soybean on soybean, but it's a fairly small part of the field, so we'll be just fine, I'm sure. Now, I probably should have, if I were doing this realistically, cultivated in this lime. What I often do on our fields is I will lime and then mulch, so it gets mulched in. I think in real life you'd want to be planting directly into this lime, although it is a direct drill seeder we're using, or a planter I should say. But before we get to the end of the row, we can jump in and take a look at this mighty John Deere. I did get it all washed up for you before we came out to the field. 8RT 410 makes a nice seeding unit. Now, harvesters aren't the only thing we're going to need to upgrade. Well, I'm not referring to the tractor, but we will likely have to add another planter and have two planters on the go by the time we own the entire map. We'll kind of see how planting goes for us this year, because we got a fair bit to get in the ground. Now, I don't think there's any fields, like any planting contracts we'll get. Well, I guess potentially there's one. Actually, let's just stop here real quick and look at the map. Yeah, field 4 is empty right now, so I suppose there's potential we'll get a planting contract in there. But the NPCs have put in, or AI I should say, have put in everything else. We have a couple swaths of barley here. So this is going to be, sorry, again, I keep forgetting you can't see my mouse pointer. So in 6 and 10, we got some barley. So our new field is going to be a soybean. And then our field over, the large field we made over by our farmhouse, that is going to be corn. It was soybean last year. And in the little field to the north, field 9, it's actually going to end up corn on corn because those two fields were different last year. One was soybean, one was corn. It was kind of a nuisance to have to bring the two different headers up, so we're going to keep those fields in sync. And like I said, it's just a small field we're doing corn on. And then field 3, oh shoot, what was in that? I can't remember. Soybean. So maybe we'll put corn in field 3 as well. So our only soybean field then will be the one we're working on, and everything else will be corn. That's what I'm thinking right now anyway. See if that holds. It does make us a little bit corn heavy, but I mean, one or the other is going to be heavy just because of the way the number of fields we have right now, and nothing can be done about that. Of course, we need to roll this once we're done. Now that needs to be done the same month that it's planted. Haven't done anything about a larger roller yet. We still have our, I think it's 12-meter roller, so it's not like real small, but still does take some time. But I guess, time we've got, if we don't have a lot of contracts, I can get Jim going on that, or Bill. Somebody anyways can roll if I continue with the with the planting chores. Well, I think we're going to have to and get this bit set up in cab. Now my plan is this will be our spring episode, and we'll jump to fall. Just because it is basically just the same processes over and over again. There's nothing new, and it's more about where the farm income is coming from and how the farm is growing. And like I said, my intention right now is that this is the last land expansion before we do equipment expansion, particularly on the harvesting side. Oh, I think we're going to need to take over here as well. Need to back up and shut off. We have to keep in mind that we just took 2 more fields out of the available contracting fields. Took them out of the list with this these 2 acquisitions here. Let's get this lowered down. And away we go again. I think we will go. There's a newer version of this planter available, and I think that's what we'll end up running, a couple of those. They are real pricey unless we find one used. I do have Matt looking for used harvesters for us, either another S7900 or an X9. Is it X9 or X11? Jeez, I can't remember now. The big John Deere one, anyway. We're going to want to move to a 2 harvester operation, and we may even need to move to 3 harvesters before we're done on here. Once we own all the fields, we'll just kind of have to see how that goes. That's a pretty neat animation. Now there was one stump, I think it was right along in here, of a bush that I had missed and I kept hitting it. Hopefully I've got it out of there now so we don't come to a screeching halt here. Another thing that we're going to need to think about is shed space. Boy, our sheds are getting pretty packed. So there is a plan afoot for that as well, but I don't know if I'll have to do it. I think we'll definitely have to do it once we get the second harvester. We'll have to do something about that, but things are getting a little crowded. Well, folks, I think I'm going to have to leave you there because we are going to be out of time. But this is what's going to be going on here on the farm for the next while, that is for sure. 'Cause we've got a few acres to get in the ground. So we'll get that done, and then we will hopefully get some contracts as well. Oh, and I can't forget to pay those contractors. I've got their invoice. I need to do that as well. But I'll get that all taken care of, and we'll come back together again at harvest time. And who knows, maybe we'll have two harvesters at a time if a good S7 used one comes up. But I think I'm going to have to leave you there. So if you're still watching, I really appreciate it. If you haven't already, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. And if you want to see when other content like this lands, hit that old notification bell. But for this episode here on Monteith, it's Farmer Murphy signing off.